Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Col Shantonu Roy from Fearless Leaders. Today, I will give you a little insight on what exactly is leadership. Gentlemen, I have served in the armed forces for last 35 years and I'm supposed to have led men through thick and thin. In the army, we are supposed to be leading men to death during a battle or even in peacetime. We are supposed to give them guidance and lead them. So, does that make me a leader, a born leader, or a groomed leader? Yes, we do go through a training of about 4 years in the National Defense Academy and also in the Indian Military Academy, where we are taught to lead people. We are taught the nuances, where leadership is the main mudda of teaching. Everything culminates towards a training of professional excellence to be a good leader, be a compassionate leader, be a humane leader, and be a leader. That is the main word, the key word. The cradle of leadership, that is the National Defense Academy, is a very prestigious academy, teaches us all those nuances. So, let us put a question in front of you. Are leaders born or groomed? It's a question open to all. Alexander, they said, was a born leader. Today, we are groomed leaders. All of us may not be genetically leaders. Then, one more thing in our life is there are a lot of shortages. Shortage of fuel, shortage of money, shortage of food, shortage of education. But have you ever heard of anybody talking about shortage of leadership? We are a 10 billion strong country and leadership is still lacking. Why? And we are multiplying at a very fast rate, but still we lack leaders. Now, you call our political masters leaders. That is the terminology that you use. But are they really leaders? No, in my true sense, they are not the leaders. They are the official representatives. They are elected. They are government officials like you and me working in the state or central governments. They are supposed to be public servants. So they are not leaders in the true sense. But we call them leaders because they run the show. They do everything for us. Then there is one more thing. There are also people who become leaders, like in politics, by clawing up the ways, by pulling others down. So leaders can be born or groomed or made in many ways. But then, factually, what exactly is a leader? Ask yourself, are you a leader? Today in the corporate world, you have many designations that Falana Admi is a team leader, Falana Admi is an executive leader. Somebody may say, I am a faculty leader. Then it is a misnomer. We are using the term, he is just heading the team. He may not be a leader because a leader has to think beyond himself, think beyond his own self. He has to be selfless. He has to think, look at things from a higher pedestal. I'll just narrate to you a story. Once in Australia, they were making a port. So what happened? They were cutting through the thick jungles of North Australia and people seemingly seemed to lose the way. They were making the road towards the port and they were going away gloriously. Suddenly they found themselves in the midst of the jungle. Everybody was confused what to do. Finally, what happens? Everybody is helter-skelter. One man, he thinks up of a certain way. He climbs up on the tallest tree, goes on top, looks around, and then he says, ahoy, we are on the wrong way. So that was what he did, a thought out of the box. So he has those qualities. What he could do is saw the way and saw that they were digging away and walking away and clearing the way towards the wrong side. The port was supposed to be on the other side. So that is what exactly a leader is supposed to do. Think out of the box, think different, and show the way. He has to take a decision. He has to be selfless. He has to think big, think on a higher horizon. So that is what a leader is supposed to be. Now, what exactly is the dictionary meaning of a leader? As per Eisenhower, leader is basically a person who can make you or his team do what he wants at the time he wants and make you feel that the team is doing what they want to do. That means that he is inspiring them, motivating them. So a leader must have the charisma to motivate, inspire, and make the others follow his directions and ways and methods. Now, everybody thinks about himself. A selfish man thinks about himself. Even an unselfish man thinks about himself. Because unless you think about yourself, you cannot grow. You have to have some ambition, some reasons, some achievements to achieve. So basically, what are we doing? Thinking of our well-being. Like, I'll just talk about a little story what Sadhguru keeps telling on various channels. Once he went to an economic forum in Europe. There he meets a CEO of a big company, a computer company. He asks Sadhguru, what are you doing? What is a mystic doing in an economic forum? You don't have any religious lectures to take. So Sadhguru coolly says, if you can come, why not me? He asks that gentleman, sir, what do you do? The gentleman says, I make computers. Fine. They walk up to a third person. They say, I am the CEO of General Motors. They go to somebody else who says, I do this, do that. Everybody does something or the other. Now, finally, at the end of the day, what is everybody doing? Why are you making computers? Why are you making cars? Why are you making anything, for that even clothes and accessories? For your own well-being, to cover your body, to travel comfortably, to work comfortably. Computers are there so that makes your life easy, reduces your burden. Cars are there so that you can travel instead of walk. You have clothes so that you can comfortably cover your body instead of wearing leaves. So everybody is working for his own well-being, for the well-being of the society, the well-being of his family. Like I was just mentioning, everybody thinks about himself. A man who thinks about himself is selfish. The man who thinks about his family is the head of the family, maybe the father or mother. A man who thinks about the community or the country is a national leader. And a man who thinks about the community or the world is the leader. So it is basically the scope of thoughtfulness, of thinking that we talk. So leader on a holistic basis or is basically somebody, it may be at a very small level. Your father is the leader of your family. The prime minister is the leader of the country. Somebody who's thinking at a much higher plane is a much more holistic leader. Or somebody who is thinking, maybe a mystic, maybe whatever. So a leader has to have foresight, has to have selfness. So this is basically, a leader has to think of being the well-being of people around him. So a leader is a man who thinks about the well-being of his team, thinks big, thinks out of the box. And he should not be a yes man. He should be a man with a spine who takes a support for his team, takes a support for righteousness, tells the correct thing. Like in 1971, Field Marshal Manekshaw, when he was told by the then Prime Minister Mrs. Indira Gandhi in the month of July 71 to wage a war against East Pakistan, he put his foot down in front of the cabinet and said, sorry sirs and madam, we will not be able to wage a war right now. You give me time, and in December is the right time to wage a war. And yes, you all know He is the most successful general of the Indian Army and a national figure. And today, East Pakistan no more exists and Bangladesh is there. And wise of Mrs. Gandhi that she accepted the no, and everybody worked towards making the battle or the war a success. So that is what you have to stand up for, the right thing. That is what a leader is. And so just saying yes sir and carry on, kya hota hai team ka, not interested, then is the main mantra of decision. A leader must take a decision, because a man who does not take decision leaves you in the lurch. Maybe the decision could have been right or wrong, but a decision is a decision. It has to be there. And the leader should have spine enough to stand up for a decision and take the onus on himself. I'll just tell you a small story about our erstwhile president Abdul Kalam. In 1979, when the SLV-3 was launched, due to some error, the launch was unsuccessful, and Kalam at that time was the project director. What happens? And the chairman of ISRO was Dr. Satish Dhawan. The chairman at that time could have just put the blame on Kalam, and today Kalam would not have been the president. He would have been a failure. But no, Dr. Dhawan was the right leader. He walks up to the press and says, ISRO has failed, we will succeed next time, and I, being the chairman, take on the onus of this failure. And believe it, in 81, SLV-3 was launched successfully, with Kalam as the project director still, because Dr. Dhawan had faith in him. And when the launch was a success, what does Dhawan say to Kalam? Kalam, go and address the press. You have been a success. So that is what a leader has to take the failure on his shoulders and give the success, the onus of the success, to his team members. So what are the traits or the essentials that a leader has to have? He should have a vision, a foresight, think ahead, think beyond term, think much, much beyond time, and then adapt himself to the change. That is what is change leadership. Changing with the changing times. He has to keep himself updated, and for that he must have professional excellence, be it any field, be it in the army, be it in the civil, be it in the corporate, be anywhere. He has to be professionally excellent so that he knows his job. He can tell his team that this is what is to be done. The team should look up after him as a guru, not that he doesn't know and he just gives out orders and turns the other way. If he is a proper team man, he will give orders, give the resources, and tell him the way, tell team the way, that this is how it is supposed to be done. And you will see the team will be successful. Then the leader has to think out of the box, tread on the path which is unknown, on which somebody has not gone. Think differently. Maybe it's a weird idea, but mind it, it will be successful if the leader has thought properly, weighed the pros and cons, and has had foresight. Then he should be able to take success and failure in the right step, because failure is the step to success. So the failure, he has to take the burden on him, or also take it lightly. He should not dump the failure onto his team and bog them down, demotivate them. He has to motivate them even with failure. That is what a leader exactly is. Then he should have the courage to stand up for the right. He should give the correct ideas to his superior, put his foot down, make a firm no for the rights or wrongs that are going to happen. Stand up for his decisions, even if they are wrong, even if they have been a big debacle. Then he should be noble to the cause. He should have the nobility, the transparency. He should have integrity, should be honest to the organization, loyal to the organization. That is what he should be, so that he is an example. He should be setting an example, not that this team looks down upon him. They should look up towards him. And finally, he should have that go in him that we will succeed come what may. That is what makes a proper leader. For that, you can be born, you can also be groomed in many of the academies or the coaching institutions that you have. There can be structured trainings also for making you a leader. Now, there are various styles of leadership. What are they? There are basically 4 styles of leadership. One is the autocratic leadership, where it is a monarch. He gives his decision and that is final. You are not allowed to interact or talk. You just take orders and work on them. They have their pluses, they also have their minuses, because in this case, the team tends to de-alienate, gets demotivated at some time, and the team may break out. But then at certain point of time, you may require to have that kind of a leadership where too many ideas may not be required. And that creates a sense of dependency also on the leader. And then is the democratic style. In this, the team is allowed to speak up, their ideas are weighed, the pros and cons taken, and then a final via media way is taken out. It can be consultative, where everybody is consulted, or it can be persuasive, that the leader gives out his ideas, a few members of the team discuss it, and then they motivate the other people to follow. That is the persuasive style. Then is the Laissez-Faire leadership style, where it is basically in businesses or places where there are creative requirements. Here everybody talks, everybody decides, then our leader is made out, the ideas are weighed out, and everybody discusses basically, and then a process or a path thought out. This can happen if there is good teamwork, good interpersonal relation between the team, where you don't need a leader exactly, just that you get out of the way, people select that this man will get the things done, and then they move towards a direction. And finally is the paternalistic way, where the leader is a father figure and people just follow him blindly, like Gandhiji was followed blindly during the war of freedom. What he said was gospel truth. People just followed him. So that are the types of leadership. Then a leader, like I had said, should be adaptable to change. He should be able to manage change, manage stress, manage his time, so that they can get along well, he can get along well with the team. He should be communicative. He should be interactive with his complete team. He should have positivity within him. Negativeness will never make a good leader. He may be a leader, but then his negativity will pull the team down. Be it any type of leadership. These are the few essentials that he should have. He should be taking a feedback. Even if he is an autocratic leader, he should be taking a feedback from his team. Creativeness. A leader also should be creative, like I keep mentioning. Think out of the box. Think with foresight. Think ahead. Think different. These essentials will imply to any of the leadership styles that you do. So going on to these, there are certain theories of leadership. Firstly is the trait theory. Now trait theory means the genetic bearing of a leader. A genetic bearing can be personality, dominance, charisma or self-confidence, whatever is there. That is where I was talking about leaders are born. A person born will have these traits, and automatically when he walks into the group, people look towards him as the leader. So, are these genetically inherited? Maybe yes, maybe no, maybe they are groomed, maybe people are taught all this. Like there are good managers who come in. Like I was telling you, managers do the right things, but the leader does the very correct thing in the right manner that is required, maybe unconventional also. Then is the behavioral theory of leadership, which implies that leaders can be also trained and groomed. It can be task oriented or process oriented. Like there are institutions which create a leader. So that is what is task, to create a leader, or also to basically relationship based theories to focus on the development and maintenance of relationships. Basically, a leader is taught to maintain relationships, create interpersonal relationships, taught to be communicative, taught to be creative, which to some extent may not be possible, but yes, he's taught the muddas of leadership which will be groomed into him. Then is the contingency theory. Leaderships as being more flexible. There are different leadership styles. So he changes himself, adapts himself to the various situations, and where he has to have a dominance, he works on the autocratic style of leadership, and where he can take suggestions, he works on the democratic style. So depending on the situation, he molds himself, changes himself. So that is the contingency theory. So it is not basically a fixed characters, 6 of leadership that are to be followed. He can change as per the situation, and that is exactly how you can be a better leader. And that will also depend on the type of staff. If he has an intelligent team, he should take ideas from them. But if he has a subordinate team which is just a follower, he may not take ideas, just give them directions and they work on it. Then the history of the business, the culture of the business, the relations amongst each other, then the changes which are happening, and then certain rules and regulations which have to be followed. Like in the army, we generally do not go in for the democratic style of leadership. But yes, sometimes you have to listen to people also. He may be right, the leader may not be right at all times, he may be wrong. Or he may be not knowing the correct figures, which somebody else may be able to give a better path. So you must listen to him. But then the final thing, the leader has to be autocratic in the armed forces, because you are leading them to death. Everybody would not like to go, but then they have to follow orders. Then is the transformational type of theory of leadership, which is basically depending on the widespread changes. You have to change according to the times. So that is what I was talking about, change leadership, or change management. You have to manage the leadership or the type of leadership and adapt to the changing times, changing rules and policies. And this basically requires long-term strategic planning. You must have clear objectives, clear foresight, and you must plan accordingly to a proper roadmap that you will be creating. You have to lead by example in that case. You can't just leave things to the other people. Then is the invitational theory of leadership, where you are improving the atmosphere and the message is sent out to the individuals that there is a change and we have to adapt to it, and it is for the betterment of the society or for the team or for the organization, so that people accept it, understand it, and move towards it. Because as we know, change is resisted by all. The leader has to make you all understand that the leadership or the change is for the betterment. So in that, the internal processes are reviewed, pros and cons balanced out, weighed out, and then a via media solution or a path sorted out and told to people, which then has to be presented to the team in such a way that they accept it. Then you have the transactional theory of leadership, where we focus on the management of the organization, focus on the procedures and efficiency, working on the rules and positions in the contract, and then see the problems and the strengths, and then transact yourself accordingly. The leader has to then smoothly transact from a certain direction towards a certain direction onto a certain path. So these are basically the 4 theories of leaderships. These are some of the essentials. And then leadership is not an unending topic that today I am made a leader, tomorrow I am not a leader. It is a continuous process, and like we say, you learn every day. Leadership is also something you learn and you can become a better leader, and your interaction with your team can also improve. So gentlemen and ladies, to hear more on leadership, keep tuned on to Fearless Leaders. Thank you.